Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the EON Network podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Matt, and this episode is going to be a lot of fun for me because I've had a lot of passion when it comes to some of the stuff that I'm going to go ahead and mention here. And as you read in the title, it's going to be, Mario and Sonic. And, this has been a question that many people have been asking for so many years. Year after year after year, I hear the question, who is better, Mario or Sonic? And I'm going to go ahead and give you my answer to that. It's absolutely hands down 100% Mario. Mario is much better than Sonic. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some Sonic fans out there that might not be too happy with the answer, but at least hear me out. Mario, first off, is a universal appeal as opposed to Sonic. And the fact of the matter is, when I say universal, I'm literally talking about universal. I mean, we're talking about a conglomerate here when it comes to the character of Mario, to the point that they even actually made a movie last year that really, really hit the charts, and it was absolutely incredible. Sonic, on the other hand, they did get their own movie, Sonic did. However, it wasn't really that successful, or at least it wasn't really that huge to the point that it made media impact. But Mario, on the other hand, it made huge impact. I can guarantee you that whenever the movie came out. But back to the original question at hand. Mario is indeed better than Sonic as well because of the consistency. Mario games tend to maintain a steady level of quality across the series. Okay, and we're talking about whether if it's a racing game, we're talking about whether if it's some sort of sports title, or even just the original Mario games that have been polished through the years, of course. Have you noticed that Mario has been around for many, many years? For many years. We're talking about since the 1980s here. So, I mean, Mario's going to be heading into nearly 50 years of it becoming a thing. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, though, Mario first appeared, I believe, in Donkey Kong. I believe so. It was some sort of game between Donkey Kong versus the plumber Mario, or some sort of nature of that. And then Mario, of course, became a really big character out of that they said, hey, let's go ahead and actually publish this character to have his own video game. And the rest is history, as they say. And it's just, Mario overall, to me, is much more iconic than Sonic. Okay, Mario's been around since the early days of gaming. All right, and it's actually timeless when it comes to Nintendo. All right, Nintendo will always have their mascot, that being Mario. You can talk about the Xbox, you can talk about the PlayStation, you could talk about PC or whatever the case, and they might have a few mascots here and there. For example, Xbox used to have Master Chief as the main mascot for Microsoft, for Xbox. And I assumed that was going to stay for the rest of Xbox time. However, unfortunately now, 2024, as of this video, Master Chief is not the mascot of Xbox. In fact, Master Chief is not necessarily really a character that a lot of people ever really talk about nowadays. Unfortunately, Halo, of course, went downhill ever since 343 Industries took the game. And, of course, 343 Industries were able to buy the game. And ever since, of course, Halo went down. And so Microsoft, of course, losing its mascot. PlayStation, I never really truly knew. I thought it was Crash Bandicoot from the early days of PlayStation. And then it kind of switched over through the years. But when it comes to mascot and gaming, only one character stood by. Only one character to this day is still the mascot for their company, and that is Mario. Mario, to this day, ladies and gentlemen, is still a mascot for Nintendo. Sonic, on the other hand, isn't really... Well, was he the mascot of Genesis, I believe? I think so. I think he was actually the mascot of Genesis, or Sega Genesis, I believe. But I mean, I don't know. Why do I not know? Because it's not that important. That's why. The Sega Genesis was great and all, and Sonic apparently was a huge hit, but to the point where he really never truly was a mascot, or at least if he was, at the time, it was appropriate to say Sonic was the mascot of Sega Genesis. However, currently, as of now, it is no longer the purpose. It's no longer credible for us to say, yeah, Sonic is the mascot for Sega Genesis. So that's another reason why I believe Mario is much better than Sonic. But let's talk about the gameplay for just a second. The gameplay is very much different. It's polar opposites here, folks. I mean, we're talking about night and day. And this is coming from me, of course. This is my opinion. But I have never, and I mean never, ever, ever, gotten bored of a Mario game. A Mario game, every single one of them, it doesn't matter which one, every single Mario game that I got the chance to play through the years was just absolutely incredible. It was so adventurous, and it was just absolutely emotional, and of course it was just so much fun being able to complete each and every single level, of course, that came your way. The bosses were great. Bowser, of course, another iconic character. It was just an incredible experience being able to play that game. When I played Sonic, I honestly never was engaged. All right, and a lot of people out there probably might disagree, and that's fine. But when I played Sonic, all I did was what? Running around in circles collecting rings? That was kind of it. In fact, the game was too fast that it didn't really allow me to kind of sit back and picture and kind of just enjoy the moment at that point. You know, Mario is a great steady pace, but also at that moment in time, you can actually gain to respect everything that the game offers, whether if it's the scenery, whether if it's the character designs, whether if it's, of course, the maps and how how the designs are when it comes to the different worlds. You can kind of see that throughout the game. Sonic, on the other hand, sure, they have those elements. However, you're going so quick in that game, you're running as fast as possible that there's a lot of stuff that you actually get the chance to miss. But beside that, though, what was fun about Sonic? To me, at least. Because I played it many times in the past as well. And I'm not going to say that it's a very boring game. I'm not going to say that. But I absolutely will never, ever say that Sonic is better than Mario. I will never, ever, ever, ever say that. Because the game of Sonic, for instance, and I think Sonic 2006, I don't know if you guys ever got the chance to play or even watch the gameplay of Sonic 06, but that apparently was the worst Sonic game in the history. But beside the point, though, when it comes to the core gameplay, it was just horrible. You're just running around collecting rings, and you defeat the boss, and that's it. There wasn't really complexity. I think that's the best way to put it. Mario had complexity. Mario had a lot of different factors into a game like that. There were so many different levels and beyond. And again, complexity. It was just very, very, just so many different things, a variety of different things that would, of course, it would just be so unique. I think that would be a better way of putting it, actually. Every single world had its own uniqueness, whereas Sonic, on the other hand, it was just about the same. Because the gameplay stayed the same, and Sonic, of course, was the person, or at least the hedgehog, that was supposed to be quick, so therefore every single level was just about the same as well. Mario had all these different factors, different power-ups, things like that. I mean, for instance, I don't remember exactly the name of these, but it was actually great. I'll never forget these. First off, it was the bear, or not the bear. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I gotta look back into it. But Mario used to have these very incredible superpowers where he would actually grow tail, and just fly off, or you can fly for a little bit for an extended period of time. And then there was another one, of course, the fireballs. That's of course iconic. And then the other one that I actually liked, the hammers. I thought the hammers were a lot of fun, of course. So you had all these different power-ups, and it was great. And of course, depending on which Mario game you were playing, there were so many different power-ups. For example, I remember once in the Nintendo DS, I played a Mario game where if I ate this big mushroom, it would actually turn into a gigantic Mario and just destroy the entire place for a good 30 seconds. It was so cool. But again, Mario had all that. Mario was able to really be versatile. Mario had all these power-ups and customs and so forth that really allowed people to be engaged through the years. And that's one of the reasons why it stood tall through the years. Sonic, on the other hand, unfortunately for them, it was just a very bland character. It really was. And Tails was just as bland, and I don't know, the TV show was just not as good, of course. And not just that, but also Dr. Eggman, or Eggman, or whatever. Dr. Eggman has to be probably, at least in my opinion, one of the most overrated villains in the history of video games. We're talking about Dr. Eggman. Think about that for a second. And I'm sure it's actually pronounced Dr. Eggman, but nonetheless, Bowser truly is 20 times better. A lot more fire than Dr. Eggman. No pun intended. Seriously, Bowser is much better, okay? He is a much better boss than Dr. Eggman. All right? And I'm just saying, I fought Dr. Eggman a couple of times before through the years playing Sonic, and it wasn't truly a boss battle to me. Just felt like any other enemy that I was facing in the game. Sure, with a little, with a couple of different features to it, sure. But when you fight Bowser, on the other hand. Now, it does depend on which Mario we're talking about, however, because I will admit, when it came to the early Mario games, Bowser was the same every single time. World 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond, Bowser was just about the same. You would walk in, you'd see the little, I think there were bricks, of course, on the floor. Bowser was standing right in front of you. You had to jump over him, and you had to basically, click on the lever to make the bricks fall off or collapse, and Bowser would fall in the fire. Those early days of Mario, sure, I can give it to you. Bowser was pretty boring because you just have to do the same thing over and over and over. There was no change whatsoever. I will give you that. But through the later years, Bowser definitely had, it was much more fun to face Bowser. I mean, play Super Mario Sunshine, for instance. That was incredible, the way that Bowser's fought in there. Super Mario 3, that one had a very unique Bowser battle. And of course, Super Mario Galaxy. Think about that. Mario Galaxy, to me, probably is one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. I played that game back in the day of the Wii, and I honestly wish I never sold my Wii, because I can go back and play the game. But that game was just truly, and this is going to sound cliche, but whatever, that game was magical. It really was. I remember that game as if it was yesterday. I had so many memories off of that game. That game was just so much fun. And it just takes me back talking about it right now. But anyways, Bowser in that game too was really fun when it came to the battles that you got the chance to fight. So, and just the boss battles in general, I feel as if the Mario boss battles were a lot more fun and unique than that of Sonic. Now, another reason why Mario is definitely much better than Sonic is because of the creativity. I mean, there's just absolutely incredible imaginative worlds that are just absolutely full of just rich and vibrant, well-developed features, and it just makes you kind of be in awe at times. I mean, especially for Super Mario Galaxy, I mean, it was aesthetically pleasing. We're talking about a world, by the way, that really allowed you to kind of be immersed in. It felt as if I was in there. It's weird to explain what I'm trying to say verbally, but I mean, you just have to play the game itself to really understand. I mean, when you're playing in there, it feels as if you're a part of that world in a way, which is absolutely incredible. So, I mean, the worlds were great, and I touched on this earlier, but I mean, still, the worlds were a lot more fun. And creativity was absolutely key when it came to video games. And that's exactly what Mario had. It had creativity as opposed to Sonic. Sonic, on the other hand, I'm sorry to say, but it did not have creativity. Sonic did not have any creativity, as much as I really hate to admit it. Because, I mean, overall, if we're not comparing Sonic and Mario, okay, if we're just talking about Sonic alone, I'd say he's a decent character and his games are decent. But if we're going to be comparing it to Mario, then I'm sorry to say this, but I give it a thumbs down. Sonic as the character, thumbs down. And of course, the video games, thumbs down. Everything about it, thumbs down compared to Mario, honestly. And then, not just that, but also the longevity. Think about it. Mario has maintained cultural relevance for just about, 4 decades? And to this day, we're still talking about Mario. To this day, we're still actually producing games of Mario. And to this day, people are so into Mario that, again, a movie was built off of it last year. And there's so many different generational consoles through the years. We're talking about Super Nintendo. We're talking about Super Nintendo NES. And then we're talking about GameCube. And then we're talking about the Wii and then the Wii U. And, of course, Nintendo DS when it comes to the handheld consoles and so forth, of course. And let's not forget Nintendo 64 as well. So these, you can see the consoles evolving through the years, but Mario, of course, just basically, he evolved too, but it was just the same character. That's also really, I just wanted to touch on this too. You know, sometimes there's a lot of consoles out there that, yeah, sure, might keep their characters or games through the years, but it just changes, and they change the character a bit more, and they keep changing it, and then eventually it just doesn't feel the same. Mario, on the other hand, has kept its character true to itself through the years. It still feels like Mario. You know, it's not as if I'm playing the game now and going, well, this doesn't really feel like Mario anymore. So, but no, you can pick up any Mario game and you'll understand that this is a Mario game. Mario has this feeling off of it. It's really hard to describe, but when you're playing it, you understand exactly the feeling I'm talking about. The gameplay that you get is absolutely just outstanding and astonishing. So, But yeah, just the fact that Mario has been able to survive through the generations of consoles without experiencing the same periods of decline as Sonic has, it's absolutely impressive. And that's the thing. Sonic, of course, unfortunately for them, but they experienced a huge decline through the years. And then also, really, I mean, I think this would be probably a very, very important reason because Mario is more family friendly. Mario games are often seen as more approachable for all ages. I mean, you can already tell by the character alone. You can tell just by the song in the background, or at least the songs or the music, of course, the soundtrack playing in the background. It seems so family friendly. The enemies seem family friendly. The dialogue, of course, is family friendly. Sonic, on the other hand, there's a slight edge to it. If you watch the videos, of course, if you watch some of the episodes in the games, of course, I wouldn't say that they're not family friendly, but there's a slight edge to it, and it's focused more on fast-paced gameplay, as I stated before. So that might appeal more to a specific niche of an audience. So this really allows Mario to be open to any and all that just want to play a game, whereas Sonic, on the other hand, wasn't really open to any and all that wanted to play because it really allowed people, people to kind of go, well, this game is all about fast-paced, this and that. You got to go in circles, collect the rings. It didn't feel as if it was truly family-friendly for that. But Mario is just much more family-friendly, right? I mean, it just has a broader appeal, right? And there's other characters too. I mean, let's not even forget Luigi, all right? I know Sonic has Tails, but if you're going to compare Tails and Luigi, I would, of course, imagine that Luigi is much more, and I mean much more popular compared to Tails as well. I don't think anybody really talks about Tails. Sure, there's a lot of fans out there, but I mean, everyone knows who Luigi is, the brother of Mario. And of course, Luigi had his own games. I don't know if Tails ever had his own games. He probably did. Let me actually do a quick Google search real quick, because I wouldn't be surprised if Tails actually has his own game. Because I know Luigi had his own. Of course, the most infamous being the Luigi's Mansion. So Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog series has starred in the multiple games, including Tails Adventure. Okay, so yeah, Tails Adventures, and then there's other stuff. Tails' Sky Patrol, Tails and the Music Maker. Okay, so there's games here. There's actually games here off of Tails, which is fine. But they're not as popular. I mean, I didn't even know who this existed until I just searched it up right now. Whereas I knew Luigi, of course, had his own games. That was right off the bat. I didn't even have to search that up. I knew for a fact he was going to have his own video games. Tails, on the other hand, I mean, I was kind of expecting it, but I had to search it up to just be clear. So it goes to show that it's not well known too much. At least the characters are not well known too much, unless if you truly are, and I mean, unless if you truly are a person who is, obsessed with Sonic. That's a different story. Of course, you're going to know everything about it. But if you're just a casual gamer like me, for instance, you know more of Mario than Sonic. Let's be honest. You really know more of Mario than Sonic. All right, Mario is just everywhere. Mario is plastered, especially if you're in the Nintendo fandom. Mario is just plastered all over Nintendo. And I can guarantee you at one point in time, you've played Mario. At least once. At least once in your life. Or at the very least, if you never played Mario, then at the very least I can guarantee you that you've at least seen gameplay footage of Mario for sure. I can absolutely guarantee you there's no way that Mario himself, I mean, again, Mario's just a household name when it comes to video games. Let's just put it that way. It's a household name when it comes to video games. Okay, Mario really is probably the best example of a video game mascot, best example when it comes to marketing genius, when it comes to video games, and just the best example overall on how a video game should be. I mean, even the early days of Mario was so much fun back then. So, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Just a pretty interesting little debate question that I got the chance to read through the years. A lot of people are kind of conflicted about it, although I do see people choose and lean towards Mario over Sonic. But if you like Sonic, that's completely fine. Hey, more power to you, I mean, if you like Sonic, that's great. That's cool. I just prefer Mario, and I believe Mario is better for so many different reasons. And the reasons of, obviously, I discussed throughout the years. I mean, throughout the the past 20 minutes of this video, but I meant to say years because through the years, Mario literally has shown you those examples. He's grown through the years. He's evolved through the years. He's developed a unique style through the years. So it just goes to show that Mario truly is one of the best, if not really the best video game character of all time. The most memorable, the most iconic. All right, everyone, we're gonna continue to do the Eon Network podcast videos every single Wednesday. So, of course, we thank you very much for taking the time to watch this episode. We'll catch you next Wednesday for the next episode for Eon Network podcast. Cannot wait for next week. In fact, we have a very interesting subject. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to turn on the subscribe, well, at least the bell button if you're going to subscribe. And, of course, comment and like if you can. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll catch you next Wednesday.